Here's the goals of the program, or at least some of the goals of the program. We want to deepen your knowledge of business models. We want to make you a business model expert. You probably know quite a bit about business models now. You may already be an expert. Hopefully, we can even deepen your knowledge a little bit more. We want to create revenue opportunities in your practice. Business models is a growing area. There are not a lot of experts. You are in the right place at the right time. We want to add value to the people you already work with, that you have clients, you have stakeholders, that your increased business model knowledge can serve them through you becoming an expert in this area. And then we want to establish our business quotient tool as the premier way to assess a business model. The good thing right now is that there is no assessment tool out there that objectively puts a score on a business model. So hopefully we are in the right place in the right time, and we can do that together. We're going to use some icons to try to make your learning easier. So a little introduction to business models. And we're going to talk a lot of theory today. In this section, we're going to talk about what is a business model. How do you define it? How does a business model differ from a business plan? How does a business model differ from competitive advantage or other theories? What are the types of business models that we might see? And how does leadership stack up versus a business model? Well, first, what's a business model? I think the easiest way to talk about a business model, a lot of people say it's how you make money, and it is how you make money, but it's how you create profitable revenue. There's lots of business models that can create revenue, internet, or eyeballs in this case, but they can't generate profitable revenue. Sometimes they can generate good margins, but they can't generate profits. It's been called your secret formula or your profit formula, your money-making strategy. All of these are synonyms and are synonymous with a business model. What a business model is not is a business plan. A business plan says how you're going to execute your business model. First you create a business model, you execute it with a business plan. It's not your unique selling proposition or your competitive advantage. Those are actually subcomponents of a business model, and it basically has nothing to do with operations. That a business model stops once you have created profitable revenue. Once you collect the money from the customer, you're done as far as the business model goes. Operations have plenty of opportunities and plenty of places in other business theories and strategies and concepts, but not in the business model. And it isn't marketing or it isn't your market niches. How your business model differentiates yourself from your competition is pretty significant. If you look at the examples that we've got on the bottom of the screen, you've got McDonald's versus Hardee's. They both sell hamburgers, but they both have very different business models. You've got Redbox and Blockbuster and Netflix. All three of those are in the video business, all with different models, all with different profitability, and now Blockbuster's even gone, which is amazing. There's a company that had an 80% market share and billions of dollars in profit per year, but could not make it because their business model got stale. And we'll talk about that in the innovation stage of what it takes to keep it fresh. But all business models do, in fact, get stale. Or even DSW, who sells shoes, and Zappos, who sells shoes. But Zappos delivers them via the mail, whereas DSW has the big superstores. Clark Oil and 7-Eleven, they're both in the gas business, but the way that Clark Oil goes about being in the gas business varies pretty significantly from the way that 7-Eleven does it. And these business models actually cascade throughout the organization. That how 7-Eleven is going to run their business varies from how Clark Oil does their business or even their view of the world, what types of employees they hire. That the business model is very high up the fundamental pyramid of an organization, and it does cascade through many other aspects of how a business is run. Here's how we define a business model. We define a business model as the methodology you use to acquire customers, service them, and make money doing so. So let's talk a little bit about the history of business model thinking. I have to give a shout out to Steve Scherer, who got me thinking about kind of the history of business planning, and it did make it into the introduction into the Dummies book. But upon doing some research on this topic, the study of business really hasn't been around that long, and the study of business in schools started in the mid to late 1800s. And then the concept of business planning came around around the late 1800s and really started to get big around 1910, 1900. And then if you get into the 1950s, the concept of business planning, the conversation turned to entrepreneurship, that the hot topic wasn't this new thing called the business plan anymore. It was this topic of entrepreneurship and intrapreneurship, and how can we leverage entrepreneurship to make better companies. And now you're seeing the conversation shift away from entrepreneurship to that of business models. But let's talk about a business model versus a business plan. And I think that the difficulty with the business plan is that it does not cover everything that a business model covers. And if you're talking about generating profitable revenue, that's pretty important, and it needs to be in a business plan. So I've tried to lay that out in a graph to where you can see that the whole thing is a business plan, and right now this little piece down here is how much of the business model is included in a business plan, whereas what I think should be in a business plan is much more business model and much less other stuff. In particular, I think that any of you that have seen 10 business plans can tell me what is wrong with traditional business plans. And to me, what my guess, that your guess is, how's that for confusing? Here's what I think is wrong with business plans. Number one, there's way too much financial justification of sales that may or may not happen, and way too little talking about how the sales are going to happen and proving that we're going to be able to get the sales that we do. And then in correlation with that, there's also a lot of operational justification. Here's how we're going to make the widgets, and here's how the widgets are going to be extra awesome once we make them, and they just gloss over the part of how are we going to get anybody to buy this stuff.